Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show, aka the Ringer NFL Draft Show. My name is Danny Heifetz, and I am joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Horlbeck. And today we are answering a simple question ahead of the NFL offseason. Who needs a quarterback? We are literally going to go through all 32 teams and figure out who actually needs a quarterback this offseason.
I put my hand up to signal that the Pittsburgh Steelers need a quarterback, but we'll get to that.
Are you talking about Pro Bowler Russell Wilson?
Oh, my God. The Pro Bowl is the dumbest part of the NFL. We should just get rid of it.
Go get Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley while we're at it.
The Pro Bowl actually at this point is like an insult that you got the Pro Bowl label because that means you didn't turn it down.
I know.
Correct.
Joe Burrow's going, though.
But yes, for those of you who are unaware, Russell Wilson was named a Pro Bowler because Josh Allen dropped out.
So was Drake May.
He played well. Russell
Wilson
played
promising for a rookie. Let's put it that way.
The Pro Bowl's a joke. So we're going to get through just who needs a quarterback. But first, we want to hit these coach hirings that we, frankly, were not able to get to because they happened over the weekend. And then the conference championships happened. And we were like, I don't think we want to hit like Liam Coen to the Jaguars after like Chiefs Bills. You know, it's kind of like, keep your drugs separate sometimes, uppers and downers. So let's just go through these. Starting with, honestly, something that's kind of crazy that happened here, which is, DK, the Raiders hired Pete Carroll to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Love it. I was doing my mock draft, by the way, and I was like trying to figure out who to give to the Raiders. I was like, wait, who's their coach? And I completely had forgotten because the news, it was like a news dump time. I don't even remember when they announced it, but it was just like, there was so much other stuff going on. I almost like completely forgot.
This one feels pretty weird. I think this feels the weirdest out of all of the coaching hires. There's something funny about, so Pete Carroll is now the oldest coach ever, right? The oldest head coach ever. It's 73 years old. And
he's older than Belichick.
Older than Belichick. And it's hilarious because he's like it's not like 73-year-old Pete is joining a franchise that's like ready to go right now. Like this is a team that he's coming in with no quarterback, not a top 2 pick, ready to get a quarterback. Not a roster that's like ready really to win and like front office disarray. Like it's like this is like a long time rebuild. I feel like that's coming in Vegas. And it's funny that the oldest coach in the league is stepping in to do that.
And it's funny for a lot of reasons because it's also kind of like the anti-Belichick in a way where Belichick was like, I'm not going to just take anything. And Pete Carroll's like, I'll probably take anything, man. And like, I think ironically, Pete Carroll probably knows better than Belichick how hard college probably is with NIL and everything. But in a weird way, it makes sense though. I mean, I actually think this is a huge one for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Because like
it's a huge legitimizing hire. You're like, wow, Pete Carroll's on the Raiders. All right, Raiders.
Dude, I was talking to Austin here at the Ringer, and he was like, there's an adult in the room. It's like they have, you know what I mean? It's like, depending how you feel about John Gruden as like a full-fledged adult, it's like, it's been like 30 years since the Raiders have had an actual adult running the team. And like, I think that there's a week-to-week, as DK, as you would say in Pete Carroll's book, competitiveness that the Raiders will be able to bring. I don't know about this season.
Competitive cauldron.
Compete. Yeah, it's like, frankly, like the Raiders were primed to get their asses kicked 6 times a year by Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs in this division. And now it's like, okay, like this is a real, they're at least not a punchline right now. I don't know if the Raiders are going to compete ever with Pete Carroll, but what's his book called, DK? Win Forever?
Yeah.
Can I ask a stupid question that, as not really an NFL historian, I'm fully prepared to be incorrect, but this is something that I feel like a young, stupid podcaster would do is just throw out a ridiculous claim that's probably not right.
Sure.
Is this the most iconic coached division ever now?
Yes. That's actually, I think, a good take. Well, number one, let's give thanks and let's give praise to the Raiders for hiring Pete Carroll. So now we have another Carroll-Harbaugh potential for a rivalry here. The Carroll Harbaugh rivalry being like rekindled is so great for the NFL. It's so great for fans.
What was the deal? Because outside of the Pacific Northwest, this has been forgotten. Who didn't shake whose hand?
Outside of the Pacific Northwest, with like the fish tossing, where only people know about that in the Pacific Northwest, what was going on?
Space Needle
Dude,
fish
almost
toss.
50% of Europeans that listen to the show knew that.
Don't even get me
what
started.
The fish toss was.
I just think they all lived in Seattle at one point.
They put their mics toward their mouth.
Okay.
But also, you guys missed it. I pulled a Collinsworth. I called it fish tosh.
Fish
Pass
tosh.
rush.
Pass rush.
Mike, they're just tossing that fish back and forth. I want to see Josh Allen throw the fish, Mike.
Wait, so what happened with Pete Carroll and Harbaugh? I forget who was mad.
I love that you put what's the deal with Harbaugh and Carroll, because at one point when they were both in college, Harbaugh was at Stanford, Carroll was at USC.
Yeah.
Harbaugh ran the score up on USC and then just kept going. And I don't even know. They tried to score late in the game. It was at less than a minute. I can't remember the exact details, but it was basically they were just running the score up. And after the game, Carroll came over to Harbaugh and goes, "What's your deal?" Which was like, I mean, it's like I don't believe that any coach should feel bad about running the score up personally, but it's a very funny question to ask an opposing coach after a game. Is like, "What's your deal?"
Also ahead of the time, because frankly, isn't that all we all want to know about Jim Harbaugh? Like, what's
your deal?
Like, what is his deal?
it's a really meta, like big picture question that a lot of people would like to know. What's Harbaugh's deal? But at the time, it was, caught on camera, and I don't think Carroll, I can't remember. I don't think he made a big deal out of it afterwards. It was just kind of like a spur of the moment thing. But ever since then, there's been a pretty strong rivalry. And then, but when Pete Carroll went to the Seahawks 49ers had, at least from my point of view, one of the best rivalries of that era.
Oh, yeah.
Two amazing defenses, two good offenses.
The NFC Championship game, the Richard Sherman, Michael Crabtree stuff, like the
100%.
Colin Kaepernick, the NFC Championship games, Legion of Boom.
Every single one of the games was so good. There was so much bad blood between the two of them. It was so awesome. It was so much fun to be a part of. So I'm just glad that's back, number one. But yeah, when you add in Sean Payton, who's won a Super Bowl, you add in Andy Reid, who is, and even Bill said it, like, encroaching on Belichick in terms of like all-time great coaches. Like if he keeps this up, if he keeps getting Super Bowls, he's going to be in that air.
I mean, Andy Reid has now made 11 conference championships as a coach.
I would say these are these four first ballot Hall of Fame coaches?
Harbaugh? Maybe not Harbaugh. I don't think. Yeah.
If football was like basketball, where there's no pro or college, it's just a basketball Hall of Fame. Harbaugh absolutely would make the football Hall of Fame because he spent 10 years at Michigan. They won a championship undefeated.
Yeah. If Harbaugh if Harbaugh wins a Super Bowl with the Chargers, he will be because he'll be the fourth coach all time to win a Super Bowl and a national title. That's
college. The funny part is Pete Carroll. It's like if you say Pete Carroll's the worst coach in the division, that's incredible. But then you look at Sean Payton. I mean, again, the Broncos had $90 million dead money, and Sean Payton brought rookie Bo Nix to the playoffs. So I mean, this is an absolutely insane division, and frankly, like that is why I think the Raiders and Tom Brady did a good job because like if you have the wrong coach, you're going to get walloped. Real quick, it's kind of weird that Tom Brady hired Pete Carroll, isn't it? Like, imagine going back, never mind the Tuck Rule game and saying Brady's going to buy a piece of this team one day. It's like going to the Seahawks Super Bowl when Russ threw that pick and be like, not only did this just happen to you, but like Tom Brady's going to hire Pete Carroll as head coach one day. It's just like,
it is weird.
I feel old, I guess. But yeah, that's a good call, Craig. This is definitely the best division with coaches ever. I mean, frankly, this is probably half of the top 8 division. Half of the top 8 coaches in the NFL are in this division, probably.
I saw this stat from Patrick Daugherty the other day. Pete Carroll has 4 losing seasons in 18 years in the NFL. That doesn't even count what he did at USC, which is create dynasty. I don't know.
Let me point you to Mike Tomlin, buddy.
That is true.
The further I get away from Pete Carroll in terms of Seahawks coach and Seahawks fans, that kind of like got sick of him over the years for some reason. It's like you're too close to it. Craig, you're probably going through this a little bit. You just kind of get sick of an all-time one of the like a great coach who's always producing a winner, always competing, giving your team a chance to go to the playoffs, all of that stuff. Seahawks fans, I think, got sick of him. The further I get away from that, though, I'm like, man, Carroll is one of the best coaches of all time. Like, I'm so happy to see him back in the NFL. I'm a lifelong Raiders fan now. Over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, I'm just really excited to see where this goes. By the way, Marshawn showed up to the Raiders presser with Pete Carroll and was like screaming in the background. It was amazing. Carroll didn't even realize it was him either. But they met up later. It was great.
So the other one, Brian Schottenheimer got hired.
Speaking of press conferences.
Oh my God, this is unbelievable. So first of all, the news broke with Adam Schefter, who basically, I forget if he said Jerry Jones called him or texted him, and then he tweeted it, but he said, Jerry's quote from Jerry Jones, Brian Schottenheimer is known as a career assistant. He ain't Brian no more. He is now known as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That was how the Cowboys announced
ringing endorsement.
What is he, funny? This was an all-time like, oh, okay, Pete Carroll got, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, and then Brian Schottenheimer's the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Dude, it's insane. First of all, this is also sponge. This is prime what DK said about Bill Belichick, where Jerry Jones is too old, he doesn't know anybody anymore. Like, this is like, they always are like, oh, the exhaustive searches. It's like the Jets interviewed almost 20 people. The minimum you can do to hire Brian Schottenheimer is interview 3 people. You literally have to satisfy the Rooney Rule and then interview Brian Schottenheimer. They only interviewed 4 people. They interviewed Robert Saleh, Leslie Frazier on the defensive side, and they interviewed Kellen Moore, who they fired 2 years ago, and they interviewed Brian Schottenheimer and they gave him the job.
And Jerry Jones is basically like his dad was a good coach and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. which is the most 84-year-old thing to possibly do or say.
And the press conferences are always interesting because they spend like 10 hours talking about football 2 days in a row. So the press conference kind of end up like a rehashed version of what they were talking about. And Schottenheimer leading with like, we're a football family. The Joneses are a football family. Just love football families. And I'm like, that's literally all it was. That's literally the entire thing was just Jerry's like, he'll be my pain sponge.
Did you guys see what Jerry said recently? It was okay. I'll just read this tweet. Jerry Jones, when asked how the reaction of Cowboys fans makes him feel about this hire, there is a very low percentage of that is smiles and glory holes. Very low percentage. I have no idea what he's talking about.
No, you know exactly. No, you know what he's talking about.
He actually he says
glory holes kind of a lot.
He said glory holes multiple times. He said a Super Bowl would be the ultimate glory hole. So don't tell me he's not talking about what we're thinking about.
The Super Bowl would be the ultimate glory hole. I get that. That's indisputably correct.
Can we we need to put on our Instagram, follow us on Instagram, Ringer Fantasy Football. We need to put up the It's Always Sunny when Danny DeVito and It's Always Sunny wants a glory hole in the bar. And that's like Jerry Jones with Schottenheimer.
Did you see Chris Long's post about like people on this timeline clearly must not be aware that the glory hole is an old mining term about striking oil?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We don't think he's actually talking about a fucking glory
No,
hole.
he has no idea what a glory hole means in the Urban Dictionary way.
I kind of did. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, my God.
It's an oil term? That would make more sense.
It's an oil term, yeah.
Did you learn that on Landman?
Probably. He cried again in this press conference. He's crying all the time now. The whole thing was weird. He was talking about how this was such a big risk to hiring Schottenheimer. As he's sitting next to him, he's like, you think this isn't a risk, hiring this guy to be the head coach? It's a massive risk. But like, I know what I'm doing. I trust myself. The osmosis that he got from his father, I trust it. This is a football guy. I'm like, this guy's right next to you. This is like when Shad Khan was talking about Trent Baalke on the same call with him, being like, yeah, maybe we'll fire him if things don't go well, but we'll see.
It's like an Arrested Development where it like pans and then Buster's right there. She's like, I don't love talking about Buster. I just love this. He's just so completely oblivious to everything. By the way, Schottenheimer's been a coach for a really long time in the NFL.
Yeah, Bill Barnwell pointed out that Brian Schottenheimer's first head coaching interview was in 2006.
Wow.
And no one has hired him. It's been almost 20 years. I don't think he even got a head coaching interview.
Pete Carroll fired him once.
I mean, yeah.
So there's that.
I mean, yeah, Brian, that's a thing. That's also the way the press conference started was like literally they were like, Jerry Jones, Brian Schottenheimer, big round of applause. And it's like, and COO and also owner, Stephen Jones. And then there's like dead silence. And Brian Schottenheimer's like, I'll clap for you, Steven. And he just starts clapping right to his face. Like, that's literally, oh my God. Anyway.
But if you thought that was cringy, Liam Coen.
Oh my God. Okay. So where did we leave off? The Jaguars fired Trent Baalke.
It's been a long week.
Worm Tongue got thrown out.
It's Lemon. It's January.
What a week, huh? It's Wednesday, Lemon.
Oh my God.
Literally, this is sorry, Craig, I know you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, the two buildings, but this was literally the Jaguars are Rohan and Trent Baalke's Worm Tongue, and they just like threw his ass out, and they just got rid of him.
I'm seeing Worm Tongue at Coachella this year, actually.
That's sick. Oh, that'd be good. Lord of the Rings or Coachella. Oh, let's do that. Kai, pull that up by the end of the episode. Maybe we have time. Lord of the Rings or Coachella acts is great. Kai, yeah, do something useful.
Kai, you have 60 minutes.
The show.
Yeah.
That's so good. You don't actually have to do that, Kai, unless you want to. But
I want to.
Okay, fine.
I'll
Kai,
do it.
So
I'll
the Jaguars.
No. I mean, I'll do it. He doesn't have to do it.
Oh, well, we have a show to do.
Oh, okay. I'll do it later.
Okay. So anyway, the Jaguars literally interviewed Liam Coen, and he was like, "I'm good" because Trent Baalke's here, and went back to the Bucs. Which, when Ben Johnson does it, that's one thing, and he turns them down. But Liam Coen does it, and Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags, was like, "All right, now the Tuxedos are kind of fucked up," and they fired Trent Baalke, and then Liam Coen, who had already said he would take a coordinator job at the Bucs, Todd Bowles like called him and was like, "How are you doing?" And Liam Coen was like, "Oh, I'm at the doctor with my kid. I'll talk to you later." And then he took the Jaguars job. And
people were freaking out about this. I got to say, I didn't think it was a big deal.
I agree.
No, who cares?
He got a fucking head coach offer. He hadn't signed his contract yet with Tampa Bay. Like, whatever.
The situation changed. It's not like he was like a flip flopper.
Yeah,
he was like, "I won't work for like the cockroach of the NFL," and then they fired him. He's like, "Okay, now I'll do it." Yeah, sure.
I don't know. People were having aneurysms about this whole thing. There's like this crazy scandal that he didn't call the team back immediately. It's like, dude, it's the offseason. Fucking chill out.
I actually think Liam Coen will be a good coach. Obviously, you'll never able to see whether someone will actually be good from the coordinator to the head coaching thing until it actually happens. Like, it's hard to say how they'll run a whole program. But like, I think Liam Coen is not some flash in the pan. Like, he's he's one of the few. He didn't just like work for McVay. McVay sought Liam Coen out when he was at Kentucky to learn from Liam Coen. This isn't like some dude who's like a white 43-year-old guy who just was friends with McVay and they're like, yeah, sure, head coaching job for anyone. Like, this is,
I mean, that's like all true, but also that's
all true, but like, It's like Sean McVay sought him out. So it's like a little different.
Also, the whole friends with McVay thing is actually working out pretty well for a lot of people.
Yeah, actually, they're actually doing a great job.
So Craig alluded to it though. We got to bring it up. Duval. What did you think of that? What was your take on that, Craig?
Cringy? 0 out of 10 on the Riz scale.
0 or
Did Liam Coen do the Duval?
Oh my God, you didn't see
Heifetz,
that?
where you been, man? He's been looking for glory holes underground.
Honestly, right now, he says it's a 3-second clip. Just go to Twitter and search Liam Coen Duval.
Oh, I quit Twitter. Follow me on Blue Sky, baby.
Just go there. Just fucking go to Blue Sky.
Hit up the Google.
They make you log in now.
It's probably it's on YouTube. I don't know. TikTok. Search it anywhere you have a social media app. Instagram.
It's like the new. It's anywhere you get your podcast.
Yeah. Anywhere you doom scroll, search Liam Coen Duval.
Oh God.
I actually hate the term doom scroll. I wish I didn't say that.
Duval.
Oh God, that's like. Okay, can I give you a Heifetz hot take here? It's actually the opposite. This is good. You know why? Look at every coach we made fun of their opening pressers. Jonathan Gannon. When he was like, pew, 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 pew. Great job. Dan Campbell, biting kneecaps. Incredible job. Sirianni was like, Sirianni's presser was tough. And then he was talking about like, I couldn't
watch it. I literally could not watch it.
He was talking about like,
I had to turn
Adam
it off.
Gase's was weird.
He's the exception to this. Yeah.
Yeah. But Sirianni, either the opening presser or early on, was talking about how he likes to play rock, paper, scissors with guys at the combine to see how competitive they are. We made fun of him for that. The more we make fun of you in the opening press conference, the better you've done.
It just means we love you. Really.
Yeah. That's tough,
you need to be a little bit eccentric, perhaps, to be a successful NFL coach. Look at Jim Harbaugh. He's a beloved weirdo.
Speaking of Lord of the Rings, why does Liam Coen in this video look like if one of the hobbits got like a really good haircut?
Yeah.
He kind of looks like Pippin.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. I don't know what the hobbits really look like.
He kind of looks like Pippin, right, DK?
I don't know, kinda, I guess.
All right, fine.
Sure. I mean, he's a white guy.
He tried so hard. He basically like tried to do like the Rizzler, like the Riz face while he did Duval, and it didn't work.
Yeah, it's tough.
How was the reception on that in the room at the time? It feels like there was crickets after he said that.
I think it was a secondhand embarrassment and forced laughter to make him feel better.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
This guy's going 10-7.
They gave him a pity laugh. Everybody was saying 0-17 the second they saw the Duval clip.
That's one of the worst things that can happen to you, the trapdoor of like the pity laugh that you think is a real laugh and you keep going. That's always tough, you know.
Yeah. Lack of awareness there.
Craig does
but he gave it a shot. He missed. Only way to go is up from here for Liam.
You miss all the shots you don't take, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, you guys want? Let's go to just who needs a quarterback right now, and I want to just go through. We're just going to go through the draft order like in reverse, and we're just going to go through who needs a quarterback. Real quick, just a reminder: we are going to be in New Orleans the week of the Super Bowl, doing all the Super Bowl content. Going to be in Los Angeles doing a show right after the Super Bowl ends.
Heifetz over under 4.5 beignets for the week.
The week? I was in New Orleans last week for a bachelor party, and I had a few, so like I'm kind of I know I'm overdosing.
You went to Cafe Du Monde.
I went to Cafe Du Monde.
You're a little bit. Are you beignet out, or are you kind of just getting started? The engine's warm now.
I'm not going to wait in line for them, but if they're put in front of me, I'll crush one. But like the funny thing is that you look like Scarface because they just throw so much like powdered sugar down that if you have like you go to Radio Row and you're going to be covered in powdered sugar everywhere. It's like actually you got to like change your clothes like it's a haircut or something. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it does get everywhere.
It's everywhere. So, but yeah, no, if you get them, I'll have them.
Okay. But you liked it.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible. Fried dough and sugar. It's like, I think the Cafe Du Monde's a little overrated.
Donut is the highest approval rating of any food in the world.
It's a donut. Donuts got me to go to church for like half my life. So
donuts?
Yeah, because you get donuts afterwards. It's pretty good draw.
That honestly, it's a great draw.
Yeah.
Instead of those nasty crackers, you know what I mean?
Talking about the body of Christ?
Yeah. The body of Christ should be an apple fritter.
Oh my God.
Put that on a quote card. That's
the Pope just sat up in his bed. Like
Pope just fell to his knees in a Walmart.
Dude, Jackie dropped the body of Christ once at church, and the priest made her pick it up off the ground and ate it.
Body of Christ, 5-second rule.
The Lord's ball is the
5-second rule on Jesus. He made her pick it up.
Oh my God.
Whew. Anyway.
I don't think the Chiefs need a quarterback.
No, they don't need a quarterback. Okay, yeah, we'll go through all the
What's his contract status?
No.
Okay.
It's a good deal now.
It actually is an amazing
deal. It's been a good deal the whole time.
It was. So yeah, the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. They don't need a quarterback. Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Eagles don't need a quarterback. Bills, Josh Allen, they don't need a quarterback. Washington, Jaden Daniels, best rookie season like ever. They don't need a quarterback. Ravens, Lamar, they don't need a quarterback. Lions, they're not getting rid of Goff.
This is going fast.
Yeah, the Lions are not getting rid of Goff. They don't need a quarterback. Texans, CJ Stroud, don't need a quarterback. Rams, they don't need a quarterback right now. Matt Stafford's playing great. I do think there's room for them to get like a developmental guy like Quinn Ewers or anyone else McVay likes in the draft. You could throw a dart and hit, I wouldn't be shocked if they throw a dart on someone that, maybe McVay like believes in. Like, I mean, Jameis be backing up Stafford. I don't know. But like, I obviously they're not replacing Stafford for next year. But
I feel like they're not going to waste a 3rd or 4th round pick on a quarterback. It feels like they're in win now mode and they're really good at developing and they want to get kind of rookies to actually play a part immediately. But I could see them signing some type of vet who could.
Has Stafford committed to playing already next year? I feel like he's still kind of up in the air.
He wants more money. I mean, last year they gave him $5 million just because they didn't give him an extension because he's underpaid. I mean, he's making less than, he's going to be making less than Brock Purdy soon. So, I mean, Stafford, I don't think he's retiring soon. But the best time to get a quarterback is when you don't need one. Like, that's what happened with the Eagles. They got Jalen Hurts when they had Wentz. Like, you get Jordan Love when you have Rodgers. Like, I think you need to get one when you don't need one. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, Vikings here, picking 24th. The Vikings, Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. I mean, obviously the question is now, do they bring Sam Darnold back? I think before the whole disaster of the last 2 weeks of the season, there was a question of, do they just trade J.J. McCarthy and keep Sam Darnold? That's over. So the question now is, Darnold's a free agent. And I mean, on one hand, 5th in yards and 5th in touchdowns and won 14 games. On the other hand, I mean, kind of peed his pants in the playoffs and 9 sacks, most sacks in the history of a playoff game. So I'm going to steal a line that Austin Gale ran on me the other day where it's like Troy Aikman actually described Darnold as running in the pocket and not resetting. And that actually is really what the Vikings have to do is, do you run it back or do you kind of reset? DK, where are you at right now? Like, what do you think the Vikings should do? Like, do you think the Vikings pay Sam Darnold, tag him for $40 million or do you let him go as a free agent for probably nothing?
Gosh, it's tough. I think they're going to go with JJ McCarthy.
Can I ask a question about tagging? If they tag Darnold, he can still leave, right? Somebody else can still offer him a contract and the Vikings get the opportunity to match?
There's different types of tags. So they could do a transition tag.
I think the tag the Vikings would probably do is there's a transition. There's a non-exclusive tag that, long story short, they could pay him $39 million. And then if a team wants to sign him to a deal, they would have to give the Vikings 2 first-round picks, which obviously I'm sure the Vikings would be thrilled to take 2 first-round picks for Darnold. No one will do that. So you just pay $39 million. You keep Darnold for this year. The alternatives are, if you let him go, in some free agents, you get a compensatory draft pick. And it's probably not going to happen because the Vikings are going to spend the cap space. So if you let Darnold go to free agency, nothing happens. You could tag him and keep him for $40 million. Or the middle option is you tag him and you still trade him. That happened for the Matt Castle with the Patriots. So when Brady tore his ACL in 2008, Matt Castle won 11 games. The Patriots actually tagged Matt Castle and then traded him to Kansas City with Mike Vrabel for a 2nd-round pick. That's kind of what I'm wondering if it happens here, if there's a middle ground, because I got to tell you guys, I've looked into this and I didn't think it was going to happen, but Darnold's probably going to get somewhere between $40 million guaranteed or $90 million guaranteed. He's going to get a Baker deal, 3 for $100, or
maybe with the Raiders.
Yeah, so it's it could be Kirk even for 4 years and 160 or really $90 million guaranteed. But the point being, if that's what he's getting, the Vikings probably do tag him and trade him because I don't know. So
yeah, but ultimately, I think it's going to be JJ McCarthy starting for the Vikings next year.
100%.
Would you say that?
Reps. Yeah. I think that to me is the argument for the Vikings keeping Darnold. It's a little insane to pay a backup quarterback $40 million, but I think the flip side is to have a backup quarterback who won 14 games and can go in the offense without any reps is kind of crazy. And then you just look at it holistically as the quarterback position. It's kind of like how the Falcons looked at it last year. But I think that to me, the lesson from this Darnold thing is not pay Sam Darnold $40 million. To me, the lesson is you should re-sign Daniel Jones for $10 million. That's what Darnold made last year's $10 million. Just give it to Daniel Jones, clearly, and like let McCarthy play and then see if Daniel Jones is good. And honestly, they should probably tag and trade Darnold if you think you could get something for him.
Agreed.
Cool. All right. Well,
I forgot they signed Daniel Jones.
They should re-sign him. Well, as we go through this, I'm curious where you guys think Darnold will go, because it's easy to say they'll let him go, but where he goes is kind of interesting. Packers, Jordan Love, they don't need a quarterback. Packers fans are kind of weird about him, but I'm like, he's better than, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're 1 year away from Jordan Love being a conversation point of if they should get
Agreed.
Or not.
Right now, it's like a weird conversation to have because they're like the youngest offense in the NFL. So like, what are you going to say? But until
they're
then,
fine.
Chargers have Herbert. I don't want to hear anything about that. Craig, Steelers, baby. We actually got the really rare owner just directly weighing in on the quarterback situation this week. Art Rooney, this is from Brooke Pryor at ESPN. Art Rooney literally said, quote, "I wouldn't close the door, but I'd say it's probably unlikely to bring back both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I think both of them see themselves as starters, and I don't know that they want to share the same job again next year. So I would say most likely we probably don't wind up bringing both Wilson and Fields back." End quote. So, Craig, if you could bring Russ and Fields back on a multi-year deal at the same money, who would you rather have, Russ or Fields?
Well, I was going to say Fields, but now that Russ is a Pro Bowler, I'm kind of leaning Russ.
Yeah.
No, I would actually go with Justin Fields. I think he's better for the offense, and I also think that means we can get out of it easier. I think if Russ is here, we're going to sign him to a 3-year deal. He'll be okay enough to go 9-8, and then we'll just be doing the Russ thing for a while. And I don't want to do it. I don't think I don't think he really works with the Arthur Smith offense. I don't think he works with the offense we have right now. I would rather just do the Fields thing and let Arthur Smith try to have fun with him and use this dual threat guy who's still young and athletic and can make plays on his own, than rely on Russell Wilson and his mediocre offensive line as Russ is turning 37 next year and we sign him to some dumb 3-year deal. I don't want to do that at all. I don't want either of them. And I'm honestly, the Steelers, they can't do anything in my opinion. They're not going to be able to get a guy in the draft unless they do everything to move up and get Cam Ward or Shedeur, which they're not going to do, and I don't want them to do. They're going to keep Arthur Smith. They're probably going to keep the defensive coordinator. They're obviously keeping Mike Tomlin. Sounds like nothing's going to change. And they're just going to run it back again next year, and they're going to go fucking 9-8, and it sucks.
The new Jeff Fisher.
It's we could get rid of both of them and go get Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold or God forbid Derek Carr. I don't think they're going to do any of that because I don't think any of those options are really that much better than Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, who are already in the system. But I don't know. I think the path of least resistance is we'll do Fields for another year or two and then maybe we can figure it out after that.
The funniest thing for content would be if Aaron Rodgers got cut by the Jets and signed with the Steelers.
You know what? Sure. Let's do that. Why not? It doesn't matter.
Aaron Rodgers is this unstoppable force of locker room destruction, and Mike Tomlin's this immovable object of locker room protection. I kind of want to see him go head to head.
Rodgers and Pickens? I wonder how they'd go on.
There's no path for the Steelers to be good 2 years from now. You know what I mean?
Well, if you can't Jalen Milroe in the draft and then he's actually incredible, that would probably be one.
I guess we can.
Can I tell you my actual realistic thought that I've thought about? You're going to hate this even more.
I feel like I'd rather just have Justin Fields and Milroe, but yeah.
Do you know who I think actually should pair with Fields is instead of Fields and Russ last year? You know who the new Fields and someone should be? Honestly, the Steelers should sign Daniel Jones. That's actually the person that makes most sense. Because he's Arthur Smith was there for Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. I think that's the right comp for Daniel Jones at this point in his career. He's like Tannehill. He's he's this guy that Tannehill went for a 4th round pick to Tennessee, and then they got the 1 seed with him. I think Daniel Jones actually kind of has a lot in common with that.
Yeah, Derrick Henry, but yeah.
Well, you have Najee Harris. What's
no,
the difference?
We won't.
Same difference. You're right.
Yeah.
You have the better running back, Jalen Warren.
Yeah, Jalen Warren and George Pickens versus Derrick Henry and AJ Brown. I don't know, DK. What do you think the Steelers should do? They're kind of an aging defense. I just think this is really nasty, and they're going to be a 7-9 win team for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I think they are kind of in that purgatory or whatever. Every team, every franchise has a life cycle, and you kind of go through different life cycles, and the Steelers are approaching that. Okay, getting pretty close to the time where you sort of start over and clean slate it, but they're not to that point yet. They still have too good of a defense. They still have too many stars on defense. But I don't know. None of these are great options. I think the best option is Darnold, but you don't want to give him a big money contract probably. You don't want to trade for him. if he gets tagged.
I do not want Sam Darnold. I want to be on the record saying I do not want the Steelers to give Sam Darnold $90 million.
But again, here's the options: Darnold, Cousins, Rodgers, Carr. I don't know how they would get him, but whatever. Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston.
It's a brutal quarterback year in the offseason. And
there's
even in
no
the draft,
good free agents.
There's nothing
other than Darnold. And what do we make of Kirk Cousins? I mean, Kirk Cousins at some point maybe will be a little healthier, but he might be just done.
I think Kirk Cousins is going to go to the Browns. I strongly think so. Here's the thing with Kirk, and it's actually relevant with the Steelers and Russ. Just like the Steelers last year got Russell Wilson for $1 million because the Broncos cut him. This honestly takes us to the next team. We can just get to the next team here because, if you just go down the draft, Broncos have Bo Nix, they're not changing. Bucks have Baker Mayfield. If you look at the Falcons at 15, I think the Falcons have to cut Kirk Cousins, and we can go into why. But Terry Fontenot, the GM, is pretending they're not. He's like, oh, we're comfortable with Kirk the bet. He's lying. They're going to cut Kirk Cousins by March 15th, March 16th. And so he's going to have the same thing. I think Kirk Cousins plays for the veteran minimum for $1 million because he'll get 26, 27 million from the Falcons. And so I think Kirk Cousins I think he goes to the Browns because he used to play for Kevin Stefanski. And Stefanski was the quarterback's coach in 2018 and the 2019. The only playoff win Kirk Cousins ever had was in Minnesota. So I kind of think that he goes to the Stefanski and the Browns for $1 million.
That would make a lot of sense. You'd have two working Achilles tendons between two quarterbacks that year.
Yeah, so it averages out to one healthy person.
Yeah, I believe Watson retore his Achilles. That's wild.
I think Watson's
would make
done
sense
in Cleveland. But as we go through these, we could circle back on Cleveland in a minute. But as we go through these, just remember Kirk Cousins can sign for $1 million, which kind of offsets the damn he sucked.
Should the Steelers just do that? They just only get quarterbacks that they can pay $1 million to every year. That sounds like maybe they do that.
$1 million challenge. Okay. Yeah. So the Falcons, I do think the Falcons cut Kirk Cousins, and they obviously go with Michael Penix Jr., who they drafted last year. But yeah, Kirk's going to get cut, and frankly, I think they would trade him, but he played too badly. No one's going to trade him after how awful he was. They're going to have to.
He had 0 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in 3 games.
Yeah, I guess that wasn't the best. Before we keep rolling down here, DK, of all these other teams, just here real quick. So the Steelers are the 21st pick. Broncos with Bo Nix, no chance. Bucks with Baker, no chance. Seahawks are 18th. There's no chance they're getting rid of Geno, right? You got a Kubiak?
We got a Kubiak.
You got a Kubiak running your offense?
Clint? You should go get Klein and Clay.
Klein? I think it's Clint. Clint Kubiak.
I think it's Clint. Yeah, you don't even know.
I haven't double checked, but yeah, it's Clint Kubiak from the Saints, the guy that we were obsessed with for 2 weeks last year.
Best coordinator in the league for 2 weeks.
I will say though, if you look at what he did offensively, the motion, play action, the way that they were pushing the ball deep with Derek Carr, Derek Carr looked incredible when he was actually
more
healthy.
Touchdowns in Dallas for New Orleans than touchdowns in Dallas for Dallas.
We should say the Saints offense was absolutely ravaged, so it's not like he had a ton. By the end of the season, he was throwing a Dante, it was Spencer Rattler throwing a Dante Pettis. So
right. When I think I looked this up, when Derek Carr was playing, they averaged 24 points a game, which was top 10. So they were a good offense when Derek Carr was playing, and I think all that highly of Derek Carr, as you guys know. So I'm kind of excited about this. I think he's a good fit for what the Seahawks want to do. The run-pass ratio, again, when Carr was healthy, was extremely high run. They were, and a lot of that was because they were leading, but they're always going to be a pretty run-centric, balanced offense in the Kubiak family. And I've been doing some reading about what Kubiak brings, what the Kubiak field and / Shanahan family brings.
They usually bring their sons. That's usually what happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of Kubiak.
The apple does not far fall from the tree, DK.
It's like the Schottenheimers, your dad was good at this, so.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. But I think what it will do is, in theory, take some pressure off of Geno Smith. Just based on in the Shanahan / Kubiak systems, it sounds like the center is doing a lot of protection calls. They're not relying on the quarterback to do that. They're in terms of audibles and stuff, there's a little bit less power at the line of scrimmage. I think there's just basically you go up there and you have 2 plays and you either check to one or you run the play that you were given. So there's a little bit of
from Geno here.
Well, that's one way of saying it, I guess, and I didn't really mean to say it that way, but you're also just taking a little bit off of his plate in terms of you don't have to carry the offense like he did this last season. I think the big thing for the Seahawks, though, of course, is going to be who's going to be their offensive lineman, because their offensive line was terrible this year, one of the worst in the NFL. They need to invest in the offensive line, And I think that's going to be like the big variable here. But my guess is they keep Geno.
Yeah, I think you keep Geno.
Yeah, I think 85, 90% Geno. There's always a chance that they move on. I doubt it, but weird things happen, and the offensive coordinator changed, and the coach Mike McDonald was very cool. He answered the question weird. Was like, is Geno Smith going to be your quarterback next year? And he was like, I have no reason to believe he's not. So yeah, it was just like, dude, just say yes. But we'll see. I don't really know. I'm guessing Geno Smith will be back, but
I mean, what else would they do?
I think
that's the other thing. It's like, what else are you going to do? Sam Howell?
It's like that was like fan therapy. We're going to build your healthcare. The Bengals with Joe Burrow. I don't know, man. Do you think they need to get like a long-term answer with Joe Burrow's wrist being so tough?
I need to see him lift a couple more water bottles before I'm willing to keep him around.
I agree. Who knows? Really,
varying weights, varying fullness of water.
If we see him in New Orleans, I'm going to throw a really heavy water bottle at him, see what he does.
Cardinals with Kyler Murray. I actually think if a franchise quarterback got traded, it would be Kyler Murray, but I don't think he's going to get traded. But I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. Football fandom is so funny because I don't even really like Kyler Murray, but I'm like, man, I would love him in Pittsburgh. I would take him right now. Let's do it. Let's give him another shot.
So Colts with Anthony Richardson. Again, I think they're keeping Anthony Richardson like strongly. I know that he was an embarrassment and everything about this was an embarrassment in Indianapolis, but
they're going to get some competition for him though.
Yeah, I think they get competition. I think this is where if the Steelers don't want Justin Fields back, I think Justin Fields should go compete for this job in Indianapolis because the problem with the Colts, among the many problems, starting with Jim Irsay teaching people maturity, is that the Colts, Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson, could the ideal offense for them look any different? Right. And like, you need someone like Justin Fields to come in and actually, like, the Anthony Richardson offense with the backup quarterback should be similar. And I don't know. It's just an insane thing to ask of the players to be doing such different stuff all the time, the other people in the offense. But I think the Colts have to stick with Richardson because honestly, Chris Ballard, the GM, waited 6 years after Andrew Luck retired to replace him with another, like drafting a quarterback. And you can't just bail on him. So what they're doing is he's just going to Chris Hess, who's like this private quarterback. I don't even want to call him a coach. He's like a coach. He's like a biometrics guy. It's like Driveline with MLB pitchers or like golfers where they go to TrackMaster. It's like an MRI almost for, not really, but like an MRI basically for your swing or your rotation or your movement, where they just like basically get all this biometric data and just basically are like, here's all the inefficiencies in your motion. So they're going to send Richardson there. And if not, if he doesn't get better, they all get fired.
Yeah, that guy, Josh Allen, credits that guy for basically changing the way he throws and basically like firing his hips before, bringing the ball around. And that changed the entire like course of his career.
One of the coolest conversations I had is this guy, Tom House, who was a former pitcher. And then he is now quarterback guru. He helped Tom Brady with his throwing motion and Drew Brees. And he's just helped everyone under the sun. And his whole, and like when he told me this, I was like blown away, but he was like, any rotational motion in a sport is all the same. Like a quarterback throwing a ball, pitcher,
that's what Josh Allen
swing. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing.
It's all about like driving with your legs and hips first and then letting the upper body kind of follow afterwards to continue with the momentum rather than just forcing all of the torque on your shoulder or your arms or whatever.
And the entire thing is literally you're creating kinetic motion from your feet. And it is a chain of, because we say arm power or arm strength, but it's really just how efficient, like how much of the energy you're creating in your feet makes it to the tips of your fingers. That's like literally it. And it's like, how much are you leaking out of the 100% capability? That's what Mahomes is actually amazing at, is that he can have his feet in the air and he still gets power on a throw. Like that's the insanity of the whole thing.
Dude, if Shane Steichen doesn't get Anthony Richardson in some VR goggles ASAP,
oh my God,
he should be fired. Anthony Richardson should be sleeping in VR goggles every day. He should do 1,000 reps and follow the Jaden Daniels model. I also worry that, don't you think if they get a good backup, I feel like it's like this weird catch-22 where Anthony Richardson is not good enough to kind of not need a quality backup, but also he's bad enough where you're going to consider benching him a lot if you do have a good backup, which is like kind of, you don't want to do that either. So it's like if you get Justin Fields or you bring in a competent vet, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of like letting him sink or swim out there? Because if they go 1-3, everyone's going to be like bench Anthony Richardson again, and they're going to bring in a backup who's more competent. I almost feel like
this is the thing we always joke about, where it's like, oh, you can't bring Cam Newton into New England a few years ago, because everyone will like him.
Yeah, it's like you need to know with Anthony Richardson. Like I think you just kind of have to let him go for 17 games and not. You just want to
burn the boats and have no backup option.
Yeah, because then you'll know. Because if it's like, oh, he was good and then he got benched and then he came back and he got better. you're just in the same situation again. I feel like sink or swim for 17 games and then make a decision after that.
I think it's a catch-22 though in a way, because based on, again, this is all reading between the lines or whatever, but they really want to light a fire under his ass in terms of like leadership and, being first in, first out, all that shit, that like all the cliche stuff that probably does really, really matter at quarterback. Everything you hear from the coaches, everything you hear from the GM is like, we need this guy to become the leader. And you can't get that if you just coddle him and expect and just tell him he's the guy. You know what I mean? So that was why Chris Ballard was like, I really wish I've got him more competition. We basically need him we need to light a fire under his ass a little bit. So like, it's like, is that more important? Is that going to be ultimately the biggest deal, is creating that competitive situation where he really, self-actualizes and all that stuff? Or is it like, are you more worried about, if he struggles a couple games, then fans are going to start calling for the other guy? It's like, it's a catch-22 because really they need both.
100%. And just to give that like an actual story, like the Washington this season. So there were a couple veteran captains who would get there at 5:30 in the morning, like hours early before stuff started. It's like Bobby Wagner, who's been in the NFL forever, and Austin Eckler, who's like a crazy psycho work ethic guy, and Jeremy Reeves, who's like their special teamer, who's an amazing story. And Jeremy Reeves had this Players Tribune article where he was like, I've never seen Jay Daniels get there. He's always there before us. No one actually knows what time he gets to work, but he's always there before us at 5:30. And so I think that in a nutshell, you sign Justin Fields because if Justin Fields trying to take your job and he shows up at 6 and Anthony Richardson can't beat him there at 6, it's probably not going to work. Like, it's not going to, if he can't even beat him there in the morning. And I know that's a cliche and a little annoying, but like, there is truth to that.
Yeah. You lost the game on the way to the stadium.
Yeah.
It is. It's hard because I don't know. At some point it's smarter, not harder. It isn't exactly like you get there, the first person to get there, but it's like Jalen Hurts, I know, is renowned for extreme work ethic. And I remember like when Russell Wilson came into the Seahawks, he was a 3rd round pick. No one expected him to start. Matt Flynn was the starter at the time. They just signed him in free agency. But Wilson came in, and this is, mind you, like rookie camp is a week or two after the draft. It's like a couple weeks after the draft. It's not very long. And he ran the rookie camp. Russell Wilson did. He knew all the plays. He was getting guys set up. He was like the coach of the camp, and he was a rookie. And obviously they're all rookies, but like basically most rookies will go into that situation and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what any of these words mean. I don't know where to stand. I don't know how to take a snap. I've never done this. And he ran the camp. And I remember Pete Carroll said at the time, he's like, and that was like, I knew at that moment, this was going to be our guy. Like you need that crazy, like almost insane guy to be the quarterback to lead your team, because there's just a billion things to do as a quarterback in the game. It's you really do have to be kind of like a psycho to do it.
And the flip side again is Anthony Richardson, like, he's going to year 3. Aaron Rodgers didn't play. He played 1 game in his first 3 seasons. You know what I mean? So just, I don't know, keep that stuff in mind. So Dolphins, they don't need a quarterback. I mean, Tua, I frankly, if they wanted to get out of Tua, I don't really think they can. I don't think Miami wants to. I don't think Mike McDaniel could if he wanted to, because frankly, he put his neck on the line to get Tua the extension, Tua signed a big contract extension for $250 million in August, because Mike McDaniel basically asked Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, to, and Stephen Ross didn't really want to. Look, frankly, like, they just need to insure the contract in case Tua gets more concussions. It's kind of tough, but like, I mean, he's the best quarterback since Dan Marino. Like, the Dolphins can't get rid of him right now. So, I mean, it's like not even close. He's like the best quarterback they've had in 30 years.
And again, like, what are you going to do otherwise?
What are they going to do? We trade Tua, you need a quarterback. Cowboys, it's the same situation where it's like, you just paid Dak, he's injured, and it's like, doesn't matter. Like, you just paid Dak Prescott like this massive contract. Like, it's a family.
People think Dak is bad now. I feel like everyone has just decided Dak isn't good anymore.
Yeah, the tide has turned, I think, for Dak.
Well, I think the Cowboys aren't serious anymore. I think when the Cowboys were winning 12 games a year, it was like weird because like they were a joke, but like not real. Like they're winning 12 games a year now.
I mean, that was only the year before this one, right? I mean, that was.
I agree, but I think the last 2 years have really, really highlighted the extent to which Jerry Jones cares more about attention than actual winning, which before, if even diehard Cowboys fans now, you can't not see it. I really think there's no better example than doing the Dak Prescott contract on the Sunday of week 1 and keeping everyone in the entire building in limbo about what Dak and CeeDee Lamb were going to be doing, because Jerry Jones views it as free media. Like, it's literally, you don't have to pay for the PR. And so everyone's talking about you every day. And it's like, Jerry really cares about money and attention and how little money you can spend to get as much attention as possible. And like every decision they make is like that. And I think this year people really saw like like just Schottenheimer thing. Like they're not serious. Like they're not really serious about work. Like
they're not actually trying to win. Yeah.
Like the time Jerry's spending on and working on is how to make the NFL money. Like Jerry's big goal is the NFL getting to $27 billion a year by 2027. Like that's what Jerry cares about, frankly.
I think Prescott's going to have a good year next year.
I don't know. He tore his hamstring off the bone, dude.
Yeah, that's not the best.
We got to see.
It's not ideal.
I want to see it. Dude, 49ers with Brock Purdy, I don't think they're getting rid of him, but the price of, there's this wire line, like price of the brick going up. I know we've said this before, but just a reminder, Deshaun Watson makes almost as much per game as Brock Purdy has made in his entire career.
That'd be tough. That'd be a tough thing to hear.
Watson's $2.5 million a game. Brock Purdy's made $2.8 million in his entire 3 years. And so, this contract for Brock Purdy is going to be $50 million to $60 million a year. It's going to be somewhere between $50 and $60 million a pop.
What's your impression of that? What's your reaction to that? I'd be curious what most 49er fans' reaction to that
That's
is.
The price.
I think from a Seahawks point of view, Seahawks fans, from everything I've seen in Seahawks land, it's like, please God, sign him to a $50 million per year contract. Like this is going to sink your ship. Like everyone's like,
is that how you feel?
I'm kind of in the middle. I'm just like, it feels like a lot, but he also has demonstrated that he clearly can run this offense. But I think it's like once you get, if you give him that amount of money, it's like you kind of have an expectation from what you're getting for that money. And it's like a guy who elevates everyone around him. I don't know if that's him. I think he's a very good point guard in this offense. And he's a sneaky little shit who runs around and gets first downs.
To be clear, the average quarterback salary in the NFL right now is $40 million a year. Brock Purdy is literally among the last 3 seasons combined, number one in EPA per dropback. Number one. Now, obviously that's a team statistic, but the point is, if you want to negotiate with him, the average guy's at 40. You can't argue Brock Purdy's been average. Like he's been above average. And even if you don't think he is, like you're going to lose.
Right. Yeah, even if you don't think he's great, he's definitely good to very good. And I feel like the way it always works with these quarterbacks, it's like the Kirk Cousin model. The good quarterbacks end up getting overpaid the most out of any type of quarterback in the league. And that's what Brock is. It's like, sure, maybe he's getting $10 million more than what he should be paid based on his talent. But I mean, this is a guy who brought the team to the Super Bowl. Like, you know that if things are working and Brock Purdy's the quarterback, this is a team good enough to go to the Super Bowl. You have to do it.
Craig, would you give up a first-round pick just for the chance to sign Brock Purdy to $50 million a year?
If I'm Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, my answer to that is, of course you would. I'm shocked that you're even thinking about it.
Oh, my instinct is no.
It's hard because he feels inextricable from.
You wouldn't give up the 21st pick
Niners
in this draft to just bring Brock Purdy over?
For $50 million a year? No, I probably would. Because I guess if he was a free agent and just like anybody could sign him and we're just adding in the 24th overall pick, big fucking deal.
DK hemming and hawing on this is how I know that you should keep Geno Smith, because you haven't watched, and you haven't, let me rephrase, you haven't rooted for bad quarterback play recently enough to say yes that fast. Because the Giants, give me Brock Purdy. I don't care. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bears are picking 10th. Obviously, Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, they're not doing anything. Saints are picking 9th. This one's crazy. Okay. I actually think that Derek Carr is one of the guys who can get traded around, because the Saints can save like $40 million if they trade Derek Carr in the first couple of days of the offseason. I kind of think they might.
Who's going to trade for him?
Well, this is so, dude.
I'd rather have Brock than Derek Carr.
Really?
Well, yeah, I don't want Brock. Beggars can't be choosers, though. This is the thing. You don't have to trade a lot, because the Saints basically are going to take a huge discount to get off it. So, like, it's Derek Carr for like a 4th round pick. It's like the Tannehill thing. It's like Derek Carr it's like the 110th pick in the draft, the 120th pick in the draft for Derek Carr, just because you have to pay him the money.
Right.
And I'm like, that sounds terrible. But
contract.
I'm like, if you're the Saints, if Kirk Cousins doesn't go to the Browns, I wonder if Kirk Cousins goes to the Saints because he can play for $1 million. And then the Saints just flip Derek Carr for like a 6th. Anyone to take this deal. I don't know, man. The New York teams, the Giants, the Jets, if they get rid of Rodgers, the Browns, the Steelers, I don't know. Like, I could see him going somewhere else.
His cap hit next year is $51 million and then $61 the following year.
Yeah, it's big.
Christ.
Imagine the Niners with Brock Purdy, and they're like, we want you to take less than Derek Carr. Imagine what Brock Purdy's agent would say.
Yeah.
So, dude, I'm not going to. So, you know what I really think is going to happen? I think the Giants are going to trade for Derek Carr because I'm realizing that would be like my karmic retribution for saying how much I hate Derek Carr. I kind of think the Giants are going to do it.
That would be good.
He's the most depressing quarterback your team could trade for, right now in the league. That would start.
Yeah, that would break me. It would break me. I would really, because, oh my God. Because I'd buy in. That's the worst
That's
part.
A really good question, Craig. I think maybe Aaron Rodgers, I think, might go higher than in that list.
No. Right now, you're telling me you'd rather have Derek Carr
Rodgers
than
hit a
Aaron
Hail
Rodgers?
Mary last year.
I think I would.
You would rather have Derek Carr?
No, it's not 100% how they are on the field. It's also just the bullshit that surrounds them. And
what's Rodgers going to do? Get everyone in the Giants fired? Thank God. What do I have to lose?
What are we rooting for here? What are we looking to be bad? Because then in that case, this is a different conversation.
1,000,000% rather have Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers than
Did you
Derek
watch
Carr.
the Jets offense this year? He was terrible.
I actually think the offense by the end of the season was fine. I have my hot take that I believe
we gotta fire up Austin Gale. Austin Gale has he's burning down Amazon forest to power the servers to do these searches for how terrible Aaron Rodgers was this season. Obviously, if you look at his touchdowns and interceptions, that's about the only thing that looks good. Everything else, efficiency-wise, was atrocious.
But I don't care about the stats because the problem was they gave Rodgers what he wanted and made him happy. And you have to piss him off and make him mad. And then he wins 2 MVPs. You give him the ayahuasca, you make him mad, you make him think he doesn't and I actually think motivated Rodgers.
Okay.
If you look at the Jets though, I think the Jets
are going to cut him.
But the Jets are, so the Panthers are at 8 and they have Bryce Young. They're not going to, anything's possible. They're not getting rid of Bryce Young. So the Jets are here at 7 with Rodgers. The current iteration, the Jets are going to have to cut him because don't ask me why, but basically if they cut him, it's 50 million dead. But if they keep him, it's going to be like 90 million dead money. Don't ask me why, but they have to cut him. It's like half the price to cut him than to keep him. So that means if the Jets cut him, who does Aaron Rodgers play for? The Giants are not going to do it because you can't take the Jets. It's the same reason the Giants won't get Darnold. It's just embarrassing for them and they're too proud to take the Jets leftovers. But Rodgers would have to play.
Who does he play
the
for?
Saints can't afford Rodgers. They're out. Is Rodgers going to play for the Browns or the Titans or they're going to take a quarterback? Would he go to the Steelers? I'm there's not a lot of places for him.
I feel like the Steelers, hilariously, are a pretty good answer to this question.
Why? Just because they're a competent roster with a stable coach and everything is theoretically.
They can talk themselves into being
enough.
look, we're just a good veteran quarterback away.
I'm not going to lie. If the Steelers took Aaron Rodgers.
That's why they signed Russell.
It's one of those things you have to do the week 1 test. If the Steelers played the Ravens in week 1 and the Steelers defense shut down Lamar and you're like, oh, damn, Tomlin's doing some new modern defensive stuff. And then Aaron Rodgers just throws 2 touchdowns to Pickens. You'd be like, oh my God, they could do it.
We're so back.
You'd be so in. You need to, and that's the thing. How long would you need to see it to believe it? Darnold, it took us 10 weeks. Rodgers, 2 quarters.
The Rodgers offense doesn't work because he can't move. It's the same deal with Kirk Cousins. Their run game is terrible. They can't do any of the runs they want to do. Yeah.
But would you
the
really
Rodgers
want
offense,
Fields?
the holistic Rodgers offense doesn't work. Rodgers can make some individually cool plays, but it's a broken offense.
If Aaron Rodgers is upset with Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, can you fucking imagine what he would do to George Pickens?
Yeah.
After one miscommunication?
I just wonder if Rodgers is going to retire. I really feel like he might have to retire or he's going to have to swallow his pride because I feel like Rodgers is not going to go somewhere where he's not necessarily guaranteed to be the starter. If the Titans take a quarterback and he's not going to mentor Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, you know what I mean? So
Rodgers was 22nd in EPA per dropback and success rate this season. 22nd.
Yeah. So here's my question. If you're the Jets, let's say this for a second.
I bet Derek Carr was higher.
If you're the Jets, you probably don't take him back, right? I kind of think that Mad Rodgers coming back isn't the worst thing, but maybe you probably want to flush the building.
You know how I feel. Bring him back.
Bring him back. If you don't bring him back, who is the Jets quarterback?
Yeah.
It's not Darnold. It's not Rodgers. Is it Kirk Cousins? You get the other old Achilles quarterback? That kind of seems weird.
No, if you bring in Kirk Cousins, there's no reason why you shouldn't just keep Aaron Rodgers, to be honest.
Jameis would be too much for everybody, but also I just don't think
Jameis as a Jet is too much. That's too much power.
Also, I just don't think Jameis could ever play for a defensive coach. They're too turnover obsessed. That's why he can't go to Pittsburgh.
This is like DK's kicker thing, where it's like they just shuffle kickers. All these shitty quarterbacks are just going to change teams next year. None of them are going to be good again.
If they need logs, then they need logs.
On that note, Derek Carr was 11th in EPA per dropback, by the way.
Wow.
Just behind Patrick Mahomes, just ahead of Justin Herbert.
I kind of think Carr to the Jets makes sense.
Stats are stupid.
Carr to the Jets makes sense.
EPA per dropback is not like my favorite quarterback stat because it does have a lot to do with how like the surrounding cast around you. But
that's why Brock Purdy's first.
Well, I mean, that is also Derek Carr did not have a good supporting cast, and Aaron Rodgers did.
So Aaron Rodgers got to pick it. So the next one here is the Raiders, who have Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. And I mean, frankly, that was the entire problem. So Tom Brady is literally running this team as the minority owner. Pete Carroll's the head coach. We got good old John Spytek as the GM. Love Spytek.
Sure.
Our boy.
Real person.
I kind of think that the Raiders get their pick of the litter of the free agents. Like, I think that the Raiders everyone's kind of want to come to them and Brady. Like, I think Rodgers, if he could go anywhere, is probably going to want to go to the Raiders, even though the team's not great to play for Brady. I kind of think Pete Carroll reuniting with Russell Wilson makes a lot of sense. Like, they're both like way more desperate than when they traded traded Russ away. Like, Russ playing for Pete and playing for Brady, which I think he's obsessed with Brady.
This is like the older couple that gets divorced and they go date and they realize everyone's horrible and they're like, you know what? It's better off. We're better off together. Let's just get back together. Because when Russell Wilson, I don't know, a lot of this is like reporting and rumors and who knows what was completely true. But the story was at the time, Russell Wilson tried to get Pete and John Schneider fired. Like he lost the power struggle in Seattle. So like the idea of reuniting Russell with Pete sounds crazy to me. But again, like water under the bridge now, maybe they like.
Well, he wanted to run the offense.
Different situations.
He wanted to run the offense and throw more, and they tried that, and he sucks.
And it failed. Yeah. And then Schottenheimer got fired. Now he's the head coach.
And then Schottenheimer got fired as the coach of the Cowboys.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Pete's on like a, get back together with his old crew because Marshawn was there. And obviously the ending of that Super Bowl against the Patriots where they threw the ball instead of running, like Marshawn reportedly like blamed Carroll for that. And like Marshawn said at one point that he didn't think Carroll wanted him to be the face of the team or whatever, something like that. And they're back to being great friends. So I think, I
don't think that was on their mind at the time.
I'm not ruling it out, but I think it would just be it would be weird to see them back together, I guess.
So, Heifetz, going back to what you were saying about kind of Shedeur and Dion not allowing his son to play for certain teams, I do think if I had to pick any scenario, it would be that the Raiders trade up and get Shedeur at number 2. That to me makes the most sense of it.
I think it makes a ton of sense for everyone involved. And I do think there's a world where if you're the Browns, you sign Kirk Cousins for $1 million, you have a plan for a year. And then, it's like if you're Shedeur, just Shedeur Sanders being this homeschooled quarterback where Dion has just been his coach for the last 8 years running the offense. And I'm like, Shedeur Sanders had an NIL deal with TB12. Like there's literally a financial relationship there already. And so if you're the Raiders, I kind of think you get Shedeur Sanders. If Tom Brady wants Shedeur Sanders, I think Deion Sanders absolutely wants to send Shedeur to the Raiders. So if the Raiders like him, I think you get Shedeur and your plan in the interim with March is just, you get Russell Wilson. You pay him give him a 1-year deal, put him with Pete Carroll, and then you go and get Shedeur and you sideline Russ or whoever.
I think there's the more that I think about it, and the more that I start doing mock drafts and digging into the draft and trying to kind of just get a lay of the land, I think there's more and more in my mind a realistic world in which Shedeur is just there at 6. And
I think so too.
You know what I mean? Because it all comes down to what do the Titans want to do.
You don't think the Giants would take him at 3?
Well, here's the scenario. If the Titans decide they're not ready to, hand over the keys to the franchise to either one of these quarterbacks, and they just take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, one of the blue chip guys they see in this draft, they just take him number 1. Mm-hmm. And then you have at number 2 the Browns, who they're a quagmire. I don't know what to think of them. They might not take a quarterback. And then you have the Giants.
I strongly think the Browns take a quarterback. If
that's
there's
fine.
One there.
Maybe they do. No one fucking knows. They could not. There's a very strong chance they don't take a quarterback there. And then you have the Giants take one of the quarterbacks, and then the Patriots aren't taking a quarterback. The Jags aren't taking a quarterback. Honestly, it's like I feel like recently the quarterbacks have been pushed up a lot, and we see like big runs early on in draft. But like it's not that rare to see good quarterbacks fall 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty common going back over the years for guys who we think the whole draft period are going to be for like top 3 picks. They end up being 10th or 11th. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The draft is weird. The draft goes weird. Every year, it's like a shocking surprise what happens in the draft.
If you're the Raiders, though, I mean, that is such a crazy risk because if Cam Ward goes 1 to Tennessee, you are crossing your fingers that the Browns and the Giants won't take a quarterback. And I guess if you bank on the fact that Shedeur won't go to Cleveland, I guess you're just having to bank on the Giants.
Well, if their plan is like Shedeur or bust, then yeah, they will trade up. But if their plan is, man, we feel good about Shedeur lasting to 6, and let's just like hold our nerve and see if this works.
It's a poker game because remember what happened was the Manning family in 2004, they told the Chargers, like, we won't play for you. If you take us, we're not coming.
Right.
And the Chargers called their bluff and they drafted Eli Manning. Like, I don't know if people remember this. The Chargers drafted Eli Manning. The Giants did not draft Eli Manning. The Chargers took him first. And then Eli Manning went on television, which imagine this happened today, which it might happen again.
Just such
Eli
a
Manning
diva.
went on television and said, we're not going to play for the San Diego Chargers. We're not going to do it. So the Giants took Phillip Rivers, and hat in hand, they had to pay 3 first-round picks for Eli Manning. And so they gave 3 firsts for Eli.
Yeah.
And so
how do we feel about that in general, refusing to go to a team?
It was great for me. I got 2 firsts. The irony is they were right.
No, but like in general, the idea of a player refusing to go to the team that picked him, how do you feel about that?
I think that it takes courage to like stand up and do something different than literally everyone's doing. And I think a lot of people will hate you. Like probably the overwhelming majority of fans will hate it. Obviously the fans of the team. But the reality is it's a crazy process and it's fine for me to stand up to it. Like it's insane that imagine if like the best law school student in the world went to the worst law firm. That's how the NFL does business. Like, imagine if the best NBA candidate went to the worst bank. Like, this whole thing's crazy. I have no problem. Like, and again, this isn't like...
but wouldn't that be like if the worst law firm paid you the most money?
Yeah, but the money between 1st and 6th pick is like incremental, especially with the advertising. Who cares? Also, Deion Sanders is already rich. Who gives a shit? Like, it's about having a good career. And like...
Yeah. I don't know. I can see the argument where it's a slippery slope where you can't just start having people be like, I don't want to go to a bottom 5 team. I'm not going anywhere. Trade me to a good team.
It's like anything else. It's leverage. The point is his father spent his whole life building an unparalleled level of leverage with Deion Sanders. It's like you basically need a Hall of Fame father to actually be able to pull this off. And like, again, this isn't a conspiracy theory. I think that's the thing I want to nail down. Deion Sanders literally said, certain cities, we're going to pull an Eli. Like he said that out loud a year ago. If you had to pick one city for him to pull an Eli, it's Cleveland.
It's honestly smart to get out in front of it. It's smart to say it so far in advance because now it's like out there and it's less controversial now because it's had a year to marinate and bake and it's now just kind of common knowledge and it's not this like draft night or week of draft week shock. It's like, yeah, he's not going to go to the Browns.
And the key thing to remember is Deion said he'll do it privately. He said he will do it behind closed doors because he doesn't want to embarrass anybody. So the implicit, frankly, threat is he's going to tell Jimmy Haslam and the Browns and he's going to pass the message along to the Browns. Thanks, but no thanks. And then if they take him, guess who's going to be on television on draft night saying, yeah, we're not going to Cleveland. And if you like, you know what I mean? Well, he's going to be like, I got money. I'll pay the fines. Don't care. And so again, I know I'm getting out over my skis, but he's like, he said it. He said he's going to do it. So I think that DK is the scenario you're talking about is if they've informed Tennessee and Cleveland, we're not going. Then the question is, what does he think about the Giants? And maybe he just wants to go to the Raiders. And again, I kind of think it makes sense. If Shedeur Sanders is your son, you're like, yeah, I want Tom Brady to teach my kid. So I kind of do think that's where the Raiders end up. I do think they get Shedeur.
Yeah.
What happened to the whole Shedeur and Deion are a package deal? Is that over now?
The timing of the NFL,
this seems like it's not going to work.
Makes it impractical because you'd have to hire Deion Sanders like now.
Right.
And then the real answer is that
the Titans would have had to have hired Sanders for that to be like a sure thing.
You have to get Shedeur drafted and then come around for the job. Like that's the thing is if Pete Carroll's now and then Pete Carroll does 2 years, Deion can swoop in and when Pete Carroll's like 77 years old, which is another reason I think
this is the long-term succession plan.
Because it's easier for Deion to take the job of a bad head coach than to imagine if Deion took the Cowboys job and then the Cowboys call you and like, we want Shedeur. And you're like, all right, give me 4 first-round picks.
Totally.
Give me 5.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting.
So the Raiders actually, I think, are going to have a lot of options between the free agents with Brady and everything.
There's a lot of people connecting Sam Darnold to them too.
Yeah, the Jaguars, yeah, we could see. Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence don't need a quarterback. Patriots or Drake May don't need a quarterback. I think the Giants have the worst quarterback situation in the entire league. I know I'm biased, but like they have Drew Lock and Tommy Cutlets. They cut Daniel Jones. I mean, literally.
Can't believe how bad Drew Lock was.
Dude.
I mean, I didn't think he was good.
He was.
I didn't think, well, right. I didn't think he was good, but I didn't think he was this bad.
My expectations were low, but fuck.
Holy fuck.
Dude,
remember that one game where he scored 43 fantasy points.
The flip side of this whole conversation is I really do feel confident that Shedeur is not going to go to Cleveland. Let's say the Titans take Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Giants, I feel like do you like all the whole thing's going to be is when does Deion Sanders replace Brian Dable? That's the whole thing. And I'm like, can you win that way? I don't know if you can win that way. But the flip side is if Cam Ward's there, I feel like you almost have to take him because I'm like, what is the alternative? Like the Giants going to get Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr? Jameis?
Yeah.
Who's the Giants quarterback going to be if they don't draft one?
I don't want to make Heifetz root for his team to lose for a whole nother year.
No, I do.
We got to finally let him root for wins.
You're so close. Now is not with the Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders year is not the year to pull the trigger on quarterback. You're so close.
I will say, I kind of do want to just, even if it's Derek Carr, I'll take my lumps. Like Russ, a 1-year deal with someone, Kirk Cousins for $1 million. I kind of do. I keep talking myself into like trade back with the Raiders or something, and it's like, or just get Abdul Carter. It's like if you get to the third spot, just take Abdul Carter and you could pair him with Brian Burns. Spoiler, DK's draft comp for Abdul Carter is Brian Burns. You have Brian Burns and Abdul Carter at defensive end, Dexter Lawrence at defensive tackle. It's an identity. That's like back to the Giants 15, 20 years ago. It's like, you could rush 4 and win a game. And I'm like, at least
the Eagles are doing a pretty good job with that kind of strategy. Yeah.
I'm like, just be elite at something, or at least get a get me trade back to 6, get me a right tackle, and at least have a solid
Milrow in the
offensive
second.
line. I'm like, yeah. Honestly, trade back in for Milrow.
I mean, have Milrow run the fucking Daniel Jones offense from a couple years ago when they went to the playoffs. He ran the bunch. He ran the ball like I don't know, third most of all the quarterbacks. I can't remember what it was, but he was running all over the place. They're trying to kill him.
I don't know, man.
Just saying, like there's other options. This is like what I think. My point, Heifetz, is I think more than one team will be like, is this the year that we take a quarterback? Is this the year that we go all in on a quarterback? I don't know. Let's wait. Maybe let's just take one of these other blue chip guys. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are so good that teams are going to be, quite as I don't know what the word is, like enthusiastic or desperate to take a quarterback early on. I do like them both as prospects, but I don't think it's the same. It's not nearly as the same as like it was last year.
Can I tell you my fear? My fear is the Giants, because Dable and Shane are basically in a win now mandate, and they either have to make the playoffs or like show real development with rookie quarterback. My fear is they're extorted into trading up, because my fear is if let's say the Titans take Cam Ward or Shedeur, and then like the Browns trade back or whatever. Let's say the first 2 picks are quarterbacks. If the Giants are stuck with like Derek Carr, Dable's probably getting fired. So my fear is they have to take a quarterback. The Browns and Titans know that. And they don't just take Cam Ward or Shedeur, but they trade up to take like Cam Ward. They have to give up like a 1st-round pick next year to get Cam Ward. And I'm like, God, just sit there at 3, whatever. All right. We went over the Browns already. Like, I mean, Deshaun Watson's never playing for the Browns again. And I could go over that again with this contract.
Do you have the information, or is it still kind of black box of like how much the cap changes if he is injured and never comes back?
Yeah. So it's a lot.
Policy?
So just to remind people, so again, he had this 5-year, $250 million guaranteed, where it actually was like, if they cut him, they would owe him $250 million. Like they have to pay him.
Like in his cap hits would be 70-something million a year.
No, 250. Like if they're saying it's $50 million for 5 years, and in the, it's like Kirk Cousins
couldn't. If they cut him, they'd have to eat it all at once? Or I thought they could like prorate it.
You could split it up. You could do 125. Right. The point is, like, they have to pay him
there'd be a lot. There'd be a massive dead cap. Okay.
Yeah.
A huge, an unprecedented dead cap.
But there is there's 2 new wrinkles to this. One is he tore his Achilles again. Mm-hmm. And he may have possibly done it on vacation doing non-football activities.
When he was not wearing his boot, apparently.
What was he doing? Do we know what he was doing?
We have there's no firm information on this. Like there's like a rumor going around on social media. There's like a photo of his Instagram. I don't know when the photo on his Instagram was taken. But basically, if Deshaun Watson retore his Achilles while he was not in a boot, there's a chance that it could void his contract. We'll see about that. God. I think the one that's concrete and definitely happening is the Browns insured his contract, and there's this new loophole where basically the Browns pay a huge insurance premium to an insurance company in case Deshaun Watson gets hurt. He does get hurt. So the games that Deshaun Watson was missed, the Browns don't have to pay him. The insurance company pays him. And this is a really weird loophole, but the salary cap.
This is wild that this is a thing.
So the salary cap is for salary. Technically, the Browns did not pay the salary. The insurance company paid the salary. So they get a credit back at the end of the year, like a tax refund they can use to net this year's salary cap. So they get $25 million back extra for this year in salary cap. So if Deshaun Watson, because he tore his Achilles again, misses this whole season, the $50 million in this year, the Browns the insurance company pays them $50 million, but the Browns get $50 million back the year after this. So they get $25 million back for this year, $50 million the year after. At that point, they could cut him in like 2026. So they actually have, just by paying this insurance company, this weird loophole, they can actually get out of paying him, even if it's not out of the contract.
I can't believe
that's
crazy.
Rule.
And then he's just in limbo on the team, not playing / recovering and getting paid by the insurance company, not the Browns.
It's like
the Browns banish him, and no one in the Cleveland wants to deal with him anymore, and he gets to tell himself that he was treated poorly or whatever, and gets to like be basically being like self-exile and tell himself whatever he wants. But like no one wants to deal with each other again, and they never do, which is why I think Kirk Cousins makes sense to Cleveland. Give him $1 million with the Russell Wilson thing in Steelers, and he gets to play for Kevin Stefanski, and the Browns have the flexibility to take a quarterback or not. But they get to the Falcons, Kirk Cousins, Penix thing, except instead of giving Kirk Cousins $90 million, the Browns will do it with $1 million.
Yeah. Kirk for $1 million, I think is fine.
With someone who already knows the offense.
Yeah.
Is it going to work when he can't move? I guess the assumption is he'll be able to move better next year.
I think the movement issue is one, you're going to be better off the second year after the Achilles than the first. And also I think it's a wear and tear of, it's about, he had more mobility in October than December. I think it's a wear and tear down the stretch. I have to imagine that another year of rehab, he's going to be, as much as he's a year older, I think he's better this year than the previous season. Yeah. Remember, he didn't practice till like mid-August.
I can see there's definitely going to be some like comeback player of the year buzz for Kirk Cousins next year.
Kirk literally, he wasn't even ready for the beginning of training camp from the injury. So I'm kind of like, he's like 20 months removed from the thing. I kind of think he'll be okay. Good enough. For $1 million, he'll be better than Russ was. Titans at one. The Titans at one. I mean, Will Levis is there for 2 more years. He's not going to play. I think Brian Callahan, I loved how honest and transparent he was. Just the disgust with Will Levis was amazing. DK, gun to your head. Should the Titans take Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders?
Should they? Who should they take? I think they would rather. I think that I'd lean Shedeur as like a fit for their offense. I think I'm going to ultimately like Cam a little bit more, but they're pretty close in my mind.
So this is where, and I know maybe I'm like leaning too much on the Dion thing, but I don't know how you don't talk about it. You're Brian Callahan. You've been hired as an NFL head coach.
That's a risky.
You literally had the worst record in the NFL. Like your first season, you were literally last. If you take Shedeur Sanders and you either suck again and have another bottom 5 record, or you're okay, but Dion doesn't like and Shedeur is unhappy, has there ever been anyone more likely to get you fired? Like, is Shedeur better enough than Cam to, like, selfishly for the coach to want to endorse someone? Like, is Shedeur better enough than Cam to justify bringing Deion Sanders' shadow into your life?
Probably not. Yeah. In that
You're
specific scenario,
drafting your own replacement.
You're drafting your replacement. It's like, I know maybe I'm leaning too much into this, but I'm like, how could they not think this way?
Couldn't you say the same about the Giants?
Yeah, but Callahan's maybe not the one making the choice, right? Like he might not be actually.
Well, no, it might not be, but it's not like Callahan doesn't get to weigh in. But I mean, but the same with the GM. Like, do you think Chad we haven't talked about this. Chad, the guy running the Titans GM, he was the assistant GM, and then when the old one got fired, he leapt over GM and just became the president of football operations. He was never a GM. He was the VP who became a GM and now hires the other GMs. It's like he never did the GM job. Chad Brinker.
That's the dream. Yeah,
that is the dream. So, does he want Deion Sanders involved?
I don't know. Probably not.
It's going to be Cam Ward.
And that's the thing. Maybe I'm totally wrong on this. And I know some people think Shedeur Sanders is way better than Cam Ward. Some people think Cam Ward's better than Shedeur. It just feels like you're creating the invitations for your own funeral.
Cam Ward currently even odds to go first overall.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders 8-1.
Trade back, run it back with Levis.
I kind of like that. Year 3 of Levis.
I also think if the logic we just went through is like why they just signed Darnold and the Titans just signed Darnold and are basically like, screw it.
They feel to me more. I don't know. Obviously, who knows what's going to happen at this point? It's so early, but when you explain that whole scenario, it's like, oh, maybe they are just a veteran quarterback bridge guy this year. Take Abdul Carter and just be happy that they have a good pass rusher.
I think you have to trade back from the first spot.
Hunter.
It's tough to like just go first and like not take a quarterback or like even trade back for a quarterback. I think that's the thing.
I mean, that's the ideal, but you have to have a partner, and you have to. Then that's assuming that some team is going to be in love enough with these guys to give up like a future first or whatever it is that you want to trade back, because you have to weigh how much is it worth it potentially losing this guy that we really love to trade back a couple spots. Yeah.
Okay. Before we get out of here, final guesses where these people go. I think Kirk. Well, not final guesses. It's like 6 weeks, but I would say if I had to make one prediction, I think Kirk to the Browns for $1 million. Is there any? If one pick, what would you do?
Oh, like is there any guy you feel strongly about?
Yeah, anyone. Like my strong ones are Shedeur to the Raiders in some capacity and Kirk to the Browns. You can pick anything you want.
Kirk to the Browns, Shedeur to the Raiders. I do like Shedeur to the Raiders a lot. I think that makes the most sense to me. If there's any other in terms of free agency
or whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think Darnold to the Raiders. I'm a little reticent to say that Carroll is going to be super excited to hitch his wagon to a rookie quarterback in year one.
You could also argue Pete Carroll will intrinsically understand the Deion dynamic better than any of these people.
Yeah. Also, everyone talks about how old Pete Carroll is, but he does not think about it that way. He's the most energetic 73-year-old person I've ever seen in my life.
Who's more energy, Pete Carroll or Brian Callahan?
I mean, right.
Zach Taylor or Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll has more like, he's more vivacious than Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan's
more tired than Pete Carroll.
I feel bad for Brian Callahan. He's like the Drake London of coaches. It's like, what's your favorite Brian Callahan memory or quote?
Honestly, it's the press conferences about Will Levis. It's the faces after Will Levis does something. I like Brian Callahan. I just don't think Deion Sanders will pick him to coach.
He's rocking a beard right now. It looks pretty good, gotta say.
Beards for coaches are always a red flag. If you didn't start with a beard and you have a beard, it's not good.
I think the Steelers are going to sign Russell Wilson. That's my prediction.
Yeah, because that would make you unhappy. That's why I think the Giants will get Derek Carr. All right, that's all we got. We have DK's draft guide launching later this week. Oh,
I will say, Kai has 10 Lord of the Rings versus Coachella names ready for us.
Let's go.
Kai's the fucking producing. Man.
Kai, you're such a legend.
Did I beat you with the other one, DK? I think I had a better record.
With the
you
Harry
beat
Potter.
him, even though Harry Potter, even though he'd
I
seen
have not
Harry
read
Potter
Harry
movies.
Potter. I've not read Harry Potter.
I've not read Lord of the Rings. I've seen the movies a lot, but also I'd be lying if I knew more than like 12 people's names in all of Lord of the Rings. So, all right, Kai, please grace us with our new favorite game.
Glenn Powell t-shirt, by the way. That's great.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's
Appreciate it.
Glenn Powell.
Kai's got the best t-shirts in the game.
He does.
You're too kind.
By the way, are those t-shirts that you buy, those kind of like novelty t-shirts, are they ever pretty uncomfortable and like shitty quality?
Sometimes there are misses for sure.
That's always the fear.
Like really weird shaped.
Every time you're on Instagram and you're like, wow, this is like a really niche, cool t-shirt. And then you buy it and it's like, oh, this is made of tissue paper.
Oh yeah, it happens to me. Definitely happens to the best of us. But like, luckily none of them are like that expensive. So it's like, $30, $40 range.
Yeah.
Probably $40, $50 range if we're being honest.
All right. Take it easy now.
Flex.
Damn.
All right, Kai, so we're going to play Lord of the Rings character, or is it Coachella acts? Okay.
Are we all guessing? I feel like Heifetz and DK are going to know these.
I think DK and I think we hold back, but if we don't know, like we get in there.
If you don't know, you guess. If you do know, you don't guess.
Okay. I have 10 names. Half of them are from the two buildings. And the other half are from the 2002 Coachella lineup, the year that the movie was released.
Oh, that's brutal.
Wow.
That's diabolical. Okay.
That's sick.
Okay. Elbow.
Well, I know, isn't there a Bilbo? There's a Bilbo Baggins, right?
Yeah, Elbow's got to be Lord of the Rings.
Is Elbow his brother? Elbow and Bilbo?
Yeah, the family's.
I think it's an act.
I think it's an act as well.
I think it's Coachella.
I'm saying
final answers.
Coachella.
Heifetz?
Lord of the Rings.
It's Coachella.
Let's go.
Elbow is Coachella.
An English rock band, apparently. I did quick Googling.
Elbow Baggins.
That was really good. Well, because like there's Faramir and Boromir. It's like the same thing with the letter. Whatever.
Don't say too many names. You're spoiling the future.
You're gonna ruin the game.
Yeah. Sorry.
Gimli.
That's got to be Lord of the Rings. That sounds so Lord of the Ringsy.
Heifetz?
He knows.
Yeah.
And if he knows, that means it's Lord of the Rings.
Craig's
He
right.
knows that.
It's Lord of the Rings.
It's Lord of the Rings.
It's a main character, yeah.
Okay. Digweed.
Digweed?
Wow. Digweed? See, that honestly sounds more Harry Pottery.
It does. I think that's what
Lord of
Harry
the
takes to
Ringsy.
like breathe underwater.
Right. Like that's some J.K. Rowling
Digweed.
shit. So I'm going to go with Coachella.
Me too.
I think it's
Coachella.
Lord of the Rings.
Shit.
Oh, Heifetz. Heifetz snuck in there a
That was
wrong
good.
answer.
I thought Digweed would get you. I'm not going to lie.
I'm
Pretty
cooking.
confident
I'm
Digweed.
3-0, baby.
Kai-
Let's ride.
Kai, you got to wait till Heifetz says his thing.
My
We
bad.
almost escaped that.
Craig being undefeated versus like we've seen the stuff and we're doing terribly. Oh my god,
Hey, I haven't gotten any wrong.
that's true. But you lost Harry Potter.
That's fine.
Ozo Motley.
Ozo Motley. Can we get spelling or is that not allowed?
Not allowed.
Okay. Damn it. He rules with an iron fist, that Kai.
I got to get you to get one wrong here.
What is it? Ozo Motley?
Mm-hmm.
Ozo Motley. I'm going to go with... Gut says Coachella. No. Yeah, I'm going to go with Coachella.
I'm going Coachella.
I've said Lord of the Rings 3 straight times and been wrong each time, so I'm saying Lord of the Rings.
It's Coachella.
Yes! I have, for the record, never heard of these bands, though.
Who is
I tried
Ozo
my
Motley
best.
and how did they get in Coachella?
They're an American rock band. That's all I know.
From 2002.
From
If
2002.
anyone was at Ozo Motley Coachella 02, please email us at rigorfantasyfootball@gmail.com.
Okay, we're about halfway.
Yeah.
Sam.
Both.
Ooh, is this a trick question?
Kai, right now, is it both?
No.
Okay. Sam. I'm going to go Lord of the Rings.
This, yeah, I mean, yeah. But this is kind of a trick question, I feel like, a little bit. But yeah.
It's just Sam. I don't know what you want from me.
Is
All right.
Samwise Gamgee? Is that a guy?
Yeah. He's like the second or third most famous character from the book. So
Kai, I'm going to tell you right now, if Sam's a Coachella act and you're going to call us at Samwise,
this is actually pretty good.
That's what
of
he's
him
going
if
to
it
do.
is.
I see it on his face.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
God. God, we're overthinking it.
5-0, baby.
5 left. Herbert.
Damn it. Damn you, Kai.
Herbert.
Herbert. Ain't nobody named Herbert in Middle Earth.
Yeah, I'm saying Coachella.
Coachella.
Same.
Yeah, it's Coachella.
Yeah.
Ain't no but Craig. Can we make that a quote card? Ain't nobody named Herbert in Middle Earth.
Dude, that's the difference in Lord of the Rings and Dune. Is Dune is Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah. If we were doing Dune names, I would have said Herbert.
Duncan Skyrizzi.
We should do emails at rigorfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Yeah, we'll do Dune names or and pharmaceuticals.
Ain't nobody named Herbert in Middle Earth. And we're going to get Lord of the Rings scholars telling you about Herbert the Hobbit.
All right,
Okay.
Kai.
Next one. Eomer.
See, this could be a trick because that sounds so Lord of the Ringsy, but it almost sounds too easy. Say the name again.
Eomer.
I won't overthink it. Well, Eomer. What does that mean? I won't overthink it. I'll go with Lord of the Rings.
I'm going Lord of the Rings too.
Yeah, it is.
Lord of the Rings. Okay.
That's
Coachella.
Eowyn's bro, I believe.
Is he friends with Elbow?
What's that?
Elbow and Herbert.
Yeah, Elba. He's friends with Herbert.
Is he friends with Herbert? Herbert, Elbow, and Eomer were hanging out
I really
last
thought
night.
like the Sam Herbert back and forth would probably throw you off, but here we are. Coachella.
Can I get the language of origin?
No.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Coachella.
Kai, are you a fan of Lord of the Rings?
I've seen them. I'm not like the biggest fan, but they're good.
I've seen
I
that.
enjoy them.
So we're not going to make any videos of Kai watching Lord of the Rings for the first time and crying at the most emotional scenes.
No,
Coachella.
but they're good.
I really
I
wanted that.
enjoy them. Just more Star
Coachella
Wars
has
fan.
to be Coachella.
It's Coachella. It's also, is it French for pork or whatever for pig?
No clue.
Yeah, I'll go with Coachella.
It's Coachella. It's tough. Not a lot of drama here. You're just getting them all.
Yeah.
Okay. Elrond.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I think it's Lord of the Rings.
It is.
Lord of the Rings.
Bang.
Last one.
Damn.
Arwen.
Oh. Uh-oh. You may have caught me here.
Say it again.
Arwen.
Arwen. This is kind of right down the middle. This can go either way. This is a coin flip. Arwen. Who did we just do? Who was the one before?
Elrond.
Arwen. I'm gonna go with Lord of the Rings.
I'm gonna say Coachella.
Fuck.
It's Elrond's daughter.
Fuck.
It's
Did I
also,
go
we just
1 for
talked
10?
about this. It's fucking Steven Tyler's daughter played Arwen.
Oh,
In the movie.
my
Lord of the
God.
Rings. Yeah, it's Liv Tyler.
Did I go 1 for
Wow.
10?
10 for 10 and 0, Craig. Good job.
Thank you.
Impressive.
I would like to point out that I got all of them correct too, but that's
Okay.
fine.
Shout
I feel
out to
like
DK.
You
me
read the
having not
books.
seen the movies matters a little bit.
Just a tad.
Craig, me being obsessed with Lord of the Rings for like 10 years of my life does matter a little bit.
Also, you were more aware of music in 2002 than I was
That's
as well.
true. That's true. Although I had not heard of any of those bands.
They're all
Thank you,
real
Kyle.
bands on Coachella 2002.
Hey,
So
is there
that was-
another movie franchise where this could be close? Star Wars? No, Star Wars names are too specific.
Dune would be incredible because again, Dune. Duncan Idaho could be a character in The Replacements. You know what I'm saying? Like these Dune names. are out of
Duncan
control.
Idaho sounds like a folk act that is who opens for the Lumineers.
Cochon is pig in French, not cochine.
Oh,
That's where I was
close.
getting mixed up there.
Gurney Halleck. It's a good name.
Herbert.
Gurney.
Hobbled Herbert.
Gurney
Making his way
Halleck
through
is the,
Middle
like
Earth.
Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho are like the two of the biggest badasses in the universe.
They're sick.
Gurney and Duncan.
Why is it called Middle Earth?
Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of weird that like all the names in Lord of the Rings are fucking sick, but then he's just like Middle Earth.
All right. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Kai. Thank you to J.R. Tolkien for writing that thing, and then thank you to
Writing that
Herbert.
thing.
All the bands at 2002 Coachella. Shout out.
Vote on that thing.
Vote on that thing. Email us at
Walk
ringfantasyfootball@gmail.com.
to a poll and vote on that thing.
Email us at
Thanks,
ringfantasyfootball. We'll take more we'll take more pharmaceutical stuff. I still want to hear from people about like Skyrizi and other drug names, and anyone who can tell us about why these things have
Zeljans.
commercials. Zeljans. And
Zeljans. I'm not putting Zeljans in my body.
thank you, Lauren.
Lauren.
Thank you, Elbow.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
Kai and Carlos too. And Austin.
Yeah.
Elbow. So what does
Kai,
Elbow do?
thanks for coming up with that on the spot. That was great.
Yeah. What
What's
does
that?
Elbow do?
Elbow,
English
they play
rock
instruments.
band from Manchester in the 90s.
Manchester.
Wow, the band members are named Craig Potter, Mark Potter, and Guy Garvey.
Guy Garvey. That's a name. What's Elbow doing these days? Are they still around?
Yeah. What are they up to?
Yeah, it says they are still active.
Wow.
Do you think we could get them on the show?
Dude, they had an album come out in March last year.
Lovers
Shit, we should
Leap.
listen.
Good for them. They're doing well. What's up with the name Elbow?
Yeah. I wonder why they're named Elbow.
Elbow.
They did an acoustic cover of Destiny's Child's Independent Women.
They changed their name to Elbow in 1997, inspired by a line in the BBC TV drama The Singing Detective,
Deep cut.
in which the character Philip Marlowe describes the word elbow as the loveliest word in the English language. Disagree. Not sure elbow does it.
Because your elbow makes an L.
Not into
so it's
that.
like an elbow. It's like, is that why?
What do you
Just
I
mean?
how
don't
it
know.
sounds.
There's probably a lot of drugs involved.
Do you think elbow is called that because it was L-bone and then they shortened it? Because like L-bone would make a lot of
Their
sense.
original name, so they started in 1990. They changed their name to Elbow in 1997. Their original name for 7 years was Mr. Soft.
Okay. Elbow might be better than that.
Elbow is better.
Elbow's better than Mr. Soft.
Does that mean what we think it means?
Named after the song by Coffee Rebel.
Is this a glory hole type of situation where we don't know the meaning of names, the etymology? Mr. Soft. He's
Mr.
very
I'm sure the
sensitive.
Brits had a field day with
Mr. Soft sounds like a nickname that a group of women would have for some guy that he never finds out about, but that's what they call him in a group text.
It's like a character from Sex and the City.
Yeah.
Mr. Soft. Yeah, they're at brunch.
Mr. Big
and
Mr. Soft.
And then there's middle.
Mr. Middle.
My God. Goodbye, everyone.
I gotta watch those damn movies.